Alright, welcome back to another pickup. This is a Giant Acapulco. Yeah, just like the Dylan song. I'll put a picture up of what Acapulco is. So yeah, just a step through frame, pretty sick paint job I think, and graphics, cool color scheme, got that giant stem. But yeah, we'll go and check the bike out. Alright, starting from the top, we've got these Uri grips, pretty cool, color matching. Got these Changstar brakes, old school brakes, but I think the levers are pretty cool looking. And then got this friction shifter, which is kind of loose, but you can switch between index and friction here, so that's pretty cool. And the same on the other side. This one is not indexed, but it's friction. Same grips, pretty swept bars. Got a little bit of a rise on it as well. And then got this giant pink stem. I don't know if I'm gonna use this, but yeah, this looks pretty cool. And then we got the headset here, just a giant headset. I'm digging this cable hanger. I think this cable hanger is pretty cool. Cool design to it. A little bit more futuristic, I think. Down to the brakes, we got these Changstar brakes, just cheapo brakes. I think the group set on this is pretty cheap all over. But yeah, cool graphics on the side, custom made tubing. I think most of it's custom once you chop it up. And here, Victoria Evolution 26.1.9. But yeah, the tires are in really good condition. You can see they're almost brand new. And then the hubs, I'm not sure, they just look like generic Shimano hubs. And then the rims just look like generic alloy as well. Here we got the giant graphic up the front. Love these old school graphics. Got a little mountain there. So they say mountain and show a picture of mountain, just in case you don't know. Acapulco graphics on the side, pretty sick, 90s style. Same with this giant graphic. So yeah, you can tell this is pre-90s, designed with women in mind. I think anyone can ride this bike, doesn't have to be women, so. But yeah, still pretty cool graphic there. Old school hanger with this little pulley, pretty rusty on the bolt. Some rust on the seat posts. Gel saddle, seems alright. Shimano front mech, once again low end stuff, and then these custom crank set, but yeah, pinned cranks, so not much you can do with this one. I'll probably replace these. And then the pedals, Walgo pedals, pretty not spinny, but they have a good platform to them, so that's pretty cool. Chains pretty rusted through. Cassettes, teeth don't look terrible, just got gunk on them, maybe rusted a little bit. And here the rear mech got 70 GS. I've never seen the series go down to that low, to 70. I've only seen it go down to 100. So yeah, this must be quite low. And then got this little hanger. Have to check what's going on there. Seems like it's coming off. And then the rear hub, I don't know if you can see that. It's a RM40. I had a spin of the wheels, they spin pretty good. And a matching tire on the back. Again, pretty good nick, so I think that's good. But yeah, all in all, that's basically it. I think it's a pretty sick bike overall. I don't know how much I need to do to it. I think I just want to freshen it up and replace those cranks. Those are my main thing. Maybe replace the rear mech and the cassette. I'll try to stop there, but yeah, let's get into it. All right, first things first. Yeah, this was pretty spider webby, so just give it a good spray. Make sure you get everywhere. Don't get under the seat, of course. All right, what I like to do is put some WD-40, drip it on the stuck areas or where there's rust, and it kind of helps ease everything out. So yeah, just drip it on and just give it 5-10 minutes, and it's going to help you take all the parts off. And here I'm just taking the pedal off. You can see I put my hand on the chainstay, on the crank arm and the chainstay to help get a little bit more leverage. And in here, taking off the chain with my Ghetto chain breaker tool. It used to be part of a multi-tool, and now I use a screwdriver for leverage. Taking off the rear mech. The rear mech was put on pretty strangely. Yeah, someone screwed it onto the rear dropout mount. It shouldn't go like that. It should kind of like sit like this. But yeah, sometimes these things happen. Here, taking off the front mech, just cutting the cable again, and that came off pretty easily. Here, taking off the crank arm, yeah, make sure you pop off this cap, and then there's a nut inside. Always check for a nut and a washer. Sometimes there's washers in there as well. If you leave either of those things in the crank arm, when you go to remove it, you're going to bust out your crank arm, obviously. And then just make sure your tool is probably seated in there, and then yeah, wind it down, and it should come out. This one was pretty easy, no hassle on this one. Basically the same with the other side. If you take one crank arm off and it seems pretty easy, the other one should be pretty easy as well. Here, yeah, just cutting off the cables and undoing the brake. These old candy brakes. Yeah, funny with these candy brakes, it was missing one brake pad, which is a shame because the other 3 brake pads are kind of like brand new, so I'm gonna have to try to find a replacement for that. And then here, just taking off the grips, using a little bit of just detergent spray to spray in there, and then you can, yeah, just twist it off. And then same on the other side. It was actually a little bit of hassle. Took off the levers and the shifters. The lever and the shifters, they were all loosened already for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, they were like that, so the person must have been riding it with it just loose. And then here, taking off the stem, you can unwind it and bang it down, and it should loosen the wedge in the head tube. Yeah, the reason why I undid the stem first is because sometimes if it's real stuck, you can use your handlebars for leverage to kind of twist it off. But yeah, this one ended up being pretty easy as well. So yeah, the bar's off, the stem's off, everything came off fairly easy. Here, undoing the little seat bolt to take out the seat, or the seat post. And yeah, this was like a little bit stuck, so it took a little effort to get it off, but it wasn't too bad. And the post size for this, if people are wondering, is 26.0. Alright, taking off the bottom bracket, just an old style cup and cone. Yeah, just use the lock ring to kind of take it off first, and then you can unwind it. It's just unwound by hand. And then these have cage bearings, and taking out this little spindle here. So yeah, I had a little issue taking this off. You can see my tool is too big for it because I kind of went too ham with it in my previous builds and kind of spread it open. So it's kind of just way too big now. I tried taking it off with the same tool, but yeah, you can see what happens. And then my shifter was too small. Alright, so yeah, I had to get a bigger wrench. I've been meaning to get a bigger one for a while, but this one doesn't open up far enough. This one opens up to 40, I think, 40 millimeters. So yeah, let's hope this works. So yeah, before this, I did put some WD-40 inside that crack there, and also inside the bottom bracket to help loosen it. But yeah, having the right size tool definitely made it way easier to get it off. But yeah, that came out. Taking off the wheels. These are just quick release. Alright, taking everything apart, wheels, all the parts I kind of crammed on there, and BB. But yeah, frame's looking pretty sick, I think. Nice color. I just gotta give it a clean, and yeah, should be pretty good. So yeah, I'm just using the same detergent spray. I probably said this a lot in my other vids, but it's basically detergent, a little bit of Dove soap, and just fill it up with water. And yeah, it works a treat. Something about the Dove soap kind of just makes the grime come off a little bit easier. I don't know what it is, but it helps. And then just nylon brush and a paper towel, sometimes a little bit of WD-40, and that's it. Alright, just want to show you this headset nut. So yeah, it's got these 2 little grub screws, and they pinion on this little ring on the inside. So you can kind of tighten this without having it loosen. Pretty cool, I think. It's called double lock. So yeah, don't forget to loosen these when you take off your headset nut. And then I took this little wheel thing off because I wanted to soak in the Evaporust. But yeah, it just has a little clamp on there, C-clamp, or is it C-clip. And yeah, you just pop it off. And then cleaning out the BB, wire brush, WD-40, some paper towel. That's looking good, nice and clean, pretty clean. And then I took this little cable guide off the bottom of the BB just so I can clean up the frame a little bit better. So yeah, all in all, the frame was pretty good. I just wanted to T-cut the top tube and the down tube, bottom down tube a little bit just to kind of freshen it up. T-coat's basically a paint polish or paint restorer for cars, and it just takes a very fine layer off the top. It has a abrasive in it, so you kind of just rub it on, kind of like sandpaper, and then you just wipe it off with water, spray water, and wipe it off with a clean paper towel, and usually should shine up pretty nicely. Alright, everything's done. Looking pretty good, looking pretty shiny. Pink's really cool, I think. And yeah, it's all ready to be built up. Cleaning up the wheels. So you have a little file here, and it's a perfect fit for this little reflector notch thing. You just pull it off, and this one twists off like that. Pretty easy. And then yeah, just cleaning up all the spider webs with the paper towel first, and then giving it a spray. So yeah, this is just a little water pump, just like a mechanical one from Bunnings or your local hardware store. It's just a 5 litre, and I put just a few squirts of dish detergent and fill it up with warm water, and then yeah, give your wheels a spray. Should clean it up pretty well. Here you can see I killed a little spider. So yeah, just be careful of those when you're cleaning, and then give it a brush up on the rim all around using a nylon brush. That's how I clean it. And then yeah, just spray all the dirt off. That works pretty well. Here, just cleaning the outside of the hub. Some people message me saying they like to just take it apart first and clean it. I find it easier this way because everything's together and can brush it with the brush and get a little bit more leverage. You can see I used a little bit of WD-40 there just on the outside. If you're gonna replace the grease, then you don't have to worry about where your WD-40 goes, but yeah, if you're just cleaning it, I would just be careful with the WD-40, make sure it doesn't go inside the hub itself. And then yeah, just give it a spray with soapy water, and it should clean up pretty nicely. Sometimes you can't get all the rust off, so here you can see I'm using a wire brush instead of a nylon brush to help scrub some of that off. And then here, cleaning the inside of the hubs. I think, yeah, this is the hardest bit of cleaning wheels, I think, cleaning the inside of the hub because all the spokes get in the way. But yeah, just use a brush, and then eventually, yeah, you get there. And then yeah, just giving the tires a nice pump up, straighten the valve if you have to, and yeah, this is looking pretty good, pretty solid. Didn't have to fix any tubes or anything. And this is the back wheel, so yeah, it's taking the cassette off. I like to take it off so I can kind of clean it a little bit better. And yeah, just basically put the tool in, use a chain whip to hold it still, and then anti-clockwise to get it off. And then basically the same thing, give it a nice spray, give it a little bit of a brush up to get all the grease and grime off, and then yeah, just respray and wipe down when necessary. I find this way is the easiest way, and then the same with the other side. Yeah, just same method again, a little bit of WD-40 if it's a little bit rusty. Sometimes you can't get all the rust off, so I try to use a little bit of foil, but if it's completely pitted, then yeah, there's no way you can fix the pitting. And then yeah, clean the inside again, a little bit of WD-40 there, and then brush it down. The WD-40 acts like a solvent, so it should help get rid of the dirt pretty easily. So yeah, my battery basically went out here, but I basically just scrubbed the rim and the spokes as well. And then here, just putting on the tire, giving it a pump up, just like the other one, and that's basically it. Alright, there we go, all cleaned up, looking pretty good. Alright, so I got these cranks, seem pretty sick, and gonna go one by with the chain guard. I think I'm gonna take this inner one off. I don't think I need both of them. But yeah, I'm gonna take them apart, see what it looks like. It also came with BB as well, but it's pretty toast, so I might not use that. Just taking everything apart and giving it a clean. Use a little bit of WD-40 on the bolts if they're a little bit stuck. And then here you can see I'm scraping off the excess grease or dirt with a piece of plastic card and putting it on a paper towel and then throwing it out. I find that makes it way easier than having your water dirty or having it all go down the drain. Sometimes if it's really caked on, you need to use a lot of soap to help get it off. You can see here I'm using a paper towel to wipe it on the paper towel and then chucking that paper towel out, and then a brush to kind of finish it off with that soapy water spray. And then here as a final clean, I just put a little bit of WD-40 on here and give it a wipe down with paper towel. Just gets rid of all the extra grease that is still left on and any extra dirt or anything like that. I thought about touching up the cranks with black paint, but I think they look pretty cool as is, so just going to leave them. And yeah, these are ready to go. Alright, so I got these sick bars. I think they're pretty cool. These are just moto bars. I'll give them away actually. Alright, there it is. These are 921 grams. Pretty solid. Obviously they're going to be heavier because they're made of steel. And just for comparison, I'll weigh the other ones. Alright, these are the ones that came on the bike. You can see 542, so around half the weight. These are velvet orange ones. Okay, the velvet orange ones I can't get to stay on there without it falling off, but they're around I reckon 350. Yeah, so you can see a difference even between these two, which are almost the same. Depends on the material they use. Sometimes it's lighter. So yeah, this is just how you tell if it's steel or alloy. You can see this is steel because the magnet sticks to it. Same with these ones. But the velvet orange ones, yeah, you can see it doesn't stick. So this is aluminum. And then you can see also here, they can go much thicker with the aluminum and weigh less than the steel ones as well. So yeah, generally things that are heavier are stronger, but yeah, it also depends, you know, on the technology, how it's treated. I think this is heat treated as well. So yeah, a little bit different. So yeah, these bars are pretty cool. I think they're around 700 wide, 720, around that, maybe a bit wider. So they're plenty wide enough. And then you can see the sweep on them is pretty nice, with a little bit of a upsweep. What I like about these, they have less upsweep than my my black Diamondback. But yeah, you'll be able to see kind of more how it is once it's on the bike. Here's the back sweep. And then yeah, here's the stem adapter I'm going to use. It came with like a little sleeve, but this is 22.2, so I'm going to use that. And then I'm going to use this stem as well. I did a little poll on Instagram. Silver was the winner. I'll just show you some pictures of what the poll looks like. But yeah, thanks everyone for voting. I think this is going to look pretty sweet. And here's the black one. If you guys didn't see, I don't think I showed a video of this, but yeah, for the people that voted black, here it is. This is what it looks like. Still looks pretty cool, I think. But yeah, for this time, I'm going to use silver. Alright, so I'm just dropping the stem in here, stem adapter, and you can see it has a little gap here, which I don't really like. So I'm going to move this down, but up here it leaves a little gap and this kind of looks funky. I'll show you what it looks like with the stem on. Kind of looks weird with it stepping so much. So I have to cut on this line plus the thickness of the height of this top cap. So ideally I want it to sit flush like this. And then just one thing to note when you're cutting, just leave room for the thickness of the saw blade. So you gotta add that to the measurement as well, or take that into account. But yeah, we'll see how we go. It's not gonna be perfect, but I think I can get it pretty close. Here I'm just marking it with a spoke, and yeah, just taking the inside bits out so I can cut it. And what I did was I just used a hacksaw blade and go kind of all the way around first to give it a little bit of a guide. And then once I felt good about it, I just went all the way through. And then you can file the ends, make sure it's not sharp. I also used a bit of sandpaper to finish it off. I used a file to get it kind of as flat as possible using velvet shim as a guide. But yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. Here you can see the top cap. Also gave that a brush up with sandpaper. It was looking a little bit pitted, a little bit rough. And then what I ended up was using this little drill bit for my drill press. I think you can put different ends on, but I ended up putting the top cap on there. And then what I'm going to do is just put it on my drill press and then sand it away. You can see that's kind of like the final setup. I end up using a chainring washer in there to help secure it. But yeah, there's not too much to it. Just make sure you wear eye protection and all that stuff. And yeah, just made light work of it. It was actually way quicker than sanding it by hand. Here, just installing the headset. Don't forget to do up those grub screws or loosen them before you put it on, of course. And how much you tighten it, just finger tight using the small end of the Allen key. I wouldn't go too much tighter. Here, chucking in the stem, make sure you grease it up so it doesn't seize. And yeah, here's the moment of truth. Just dropping it in, hope it fits. And yeah, not pushing it down. But yeah, you can see everything fit like super well. I'm pretty stoked on this. I didn't know whether to run it high or low for now, so I ended up just running it high just to see how it looks like. So yeah, running it high means the top cap is kind of flush against the top, which I think looks pretty cool, but it also makes the stem kind of float up a little bit. So yeah, we'll put all the cables on and then see how we go. See if I still like the look of it. And yeah, good thing about bikes is you can always change it later. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but yeah, you can always end up switching the stuff up. So yeah, the bars are on. Just make sure you alternate the bolts, do them up in a star pattern, and then yeah, after looking at it, I end up decide to slam it. I think it looks better slammed anyway. So yeah, super stoked how this turned out. I think it looks really good. I think just a clean cut and just having it a bit shorter looks way better. And I just angled the bars in the same angle as the head tube, and yeah, that worked out pretty well. So yeah, I was lucky enough to have this other BB from another build. I can't remember which build it was, but it's all been cleaned and greased up and ready to go. So I'm going to fit this one on, and it's also a little bit wider, so I think I'm going to be able to run the inside crank, the inside bash guard. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, here just installing the BB. Make sure you grease it up so it doesn't seize up. And then I usually just wind it on by hand using the tool just to make sure you don't cross thread it, and then putting some extra grease on the bearings there, some grease on the tapers, and just slide it through. Make sure you don't forget the sleeve as well. And then same with the other side of the BB. You can see here I've already greased it up, hand tightening it as much as I can, and then you can use a wrench. And what you want to do is you want it to be able to spin freely, but then don't have any play in it. And then after that, try to remember the position of the BB and then pull on the lock ring just semi-tight so it's in there. And then yeah, sometimes it might take you a few tries, but you'll get it. Here just cleaning up these crank bolts, so you got a bit of rust on them. You can just pull that plastic outer straight off just by friction, and then yeah, just dropping these in the Evaporust. Yeah, sometimes I just think like putting on cranks would be easy, but there's always a part I forgot to clean. And I actually left my cable cutter out in the rain and it rusted a bit, so I'm chucking that into Evaporust too, just to show you guys how this Evaporust works. And yeah, this next day, pulling it out, looking pretty fresh. You can see I got rid of all the rust, but there's still kind of like black sediment on there. And most of the time you can just kind of wipe this off. Here you can see the chainring bolts, all the rust came off. It's a little bit pitted, but yeah, sometimes you get that. So what you want to do is basically just rinse everything on the water, and that gets rid of the black residue, and then you spray it with a little bit of WD-40 to stop it from flash rusting. You can also dip it back in Evaporust, but I like WD-40 better because it's a little less sticky. And then here cleaning the chainring bolts as well. I just used WD-40 to kind of give these a good scrub up. They didn't really have that much rust on it, so I didn't have to drop in the Evaporust. But yeah, wiped them off with paper towel, and these are looking pretty good. Ready to install the cranks. With the cranks, they had these stickers on the inside still, so yeah, I decided to get them off. They didn't really need to be on there. I think they just used the barcodes on there just for people to to purchase and scan. But yeah, just WD-40 and just rip those off. And then here's putting everything together. So there's two sides to the chainring. I ended up running like a cleaner side on the outside, and then sometimes there's a little tab on the chainring itself which lets you know it goes behind the crank arm for the position. I don't think it really matters that much, but I end up following that anyway. But yeah, that's basically done. Another little tip here is if your chainring bolts keep slipping, I like to use a little spoke and just put on the back, and what you can do is just hold it with your finger and then just wind it tight, and then it'll catch, and then you should be able to tighten all the bolts like this. And then yeah, I think the cranks are looking pretty sweet. Here you can see the clipper. I was pretty happy with the clipper. Installing cranks, so yeah, just putting a little bit of grease on here, grease up your tapers. Yeah, a little bit of grease goes a long way, and then yeah, just put in screw down your crank arms. You want this pretty decent, pretty tight. Here's the clearance, not too bad. I think I'm just going to run this. I think it could be a little bit shorter, like a shorter BB, but that's the only BB I have at the moment, and I don't want to wait and order another one, otherwise it's going to be another week. So I'm just going to build it up, run it, and see how it goes. After installing that, I think it'll look better with silver chainring bolts, so I ended up just switching it just like this. So yeah, much better I think. So yeah, these are the brakes on the bike, and I decided to upgrade the brakes a little bit because I couldn't find a brake pad, that missing brake pad. I couldn't find one that was like this thick. So I'm just going to put these ones, I had these ones lying around, I'm just going to brush them up, give them clean, and yeah, I think the silver would look pretty good as well. So see how we go with these. Yeah, sorry about the noise. I think there was construction going on outside or something like that. But yeah, basically here what I'm doing is just taking everything apart. I'm spraying it with detergent spray to get rid of most of the dirt. And then I'm going to give everything a rinse under the tap. So yeah, just put it in this little strainer basket, give it a rinse all the dirt off, give it a spray with more soap. I ended up buffing all the arms on the drill press. Yeah, when you're buffing it, just make sure it doesn't like fling off or anything, and yeah, just buff accordingly. And then a little bit of WD-40 just to clean off all the residue, and a paper towel, and I think these are looking pretty good. It was funny, on the back of the crank arm, I want to take off these stickers, and for some reason it had Malaysia on top and Japan underneath, which is pretty funny, I thought. But yeah, I ended up doing the same to the other crank arms, just like this. Alright, so these are looking pretty good, and I cleaned these by hand, just wipe all the grease off, they're alright. Here, I gave it a clean, but I'm going to drop in the Evaporust, and then same with all these bolts as well. You can see, I dropped the spacer in here. Can't lose that. And yeah, just dropping everything in Evaporust, give it a nice soak. And here it is, next day. Gonna take them out, take a look. I think they should be pretty clean. The rust wasn't too crazy on here. But yeah, using that strainer really helps. You can see it's kind of cleaned up all the parts. So give them a quick rinse, and then yeah, same deal again. Give them a little bit of spray with WD-40, and that's basically it. You can see that little washer ring, gold ring I need to buff up, but here just clean the pads up using a little brake cleaner. This is just carb brake cleaner, but it works the same, but it's cheaper. And then I'm going to actually buff up where it holds onto the canties. So yeah, just be careful of this because you already clean it with brake cleaner. Try not to buff the pads themselves. But yeah, here I end up buffing this ring or this pulley ring, and it looks end up looking pretty good. And then yeah, same with the other parts. Some of the parts I buffed, but then some of the other parts I just wiped down. But yeah, you can see here all the parts for the candy brakes. And then you're probably thinking, how do I get this back together? Well, I'm going to show you my kind of simple process. So there's gold rings and there's silver rings. So gold rings are always on the left, silver on the right. And first thing you can do is put in your little adjustment bolt here, a little bit of grease, and then you just screw this in. You don't have to screw this in all the way. I usually just screw this in halfway first. And then you have to align the hole and push it anti-clockwise. Just rotate it anti-clockwise so it just pushes up against that bolt. Some brakes you might not need to do this, but you just want the hole to be clear. And then you can go ahead and put your silver spring in. If there's a longer end, I would recommend putting the shorter end in first. And then here, these plastic caps are the same for all 4 canti brakes, so you can just pick up one of those and chuck them on, just squeeze them down, and that should be good. So that's the spring installed, and I'm just going to show you what that little screw does. If you wind it down all the way, it's going to put more pressure on the spring. And you can see the position is almost at 9 o'clock here, just like that. And then if you unwind it, it'll probably go to around 7 o'clock. But yeah, you won't notice the spring pressure until you install the brake itself. But yeah, I just want to show you how it works so you get an understanding of it. And then here, the rest is pretty easy. So you just put this little washer on that kind of fits on that bracket. Put a washer and a bolt, and that's done for one of those kinds. And then to install the brake, there's this little washer that's beveled that kind of sits in there and slides up and down. You can see how that works with the flat side facing out, and then on the back you use a washer which is concaved and slides on the back in the same way, and it should have a flat side facing out. And grab one of these things which you can just slide through the canti brake just like that, and you turn it around and you're going to put a bolt on the back to secure it. I just do these kind of just friction fit for now because I'll tighten them up when the brake is actually on the bike. But yeah, that's basically it. That's the right arm brake done. And basically repeat the same process on this side. A little bit of grease, make sure you can put the spring in, put the cap on, put the bolts on, and then yeah, put the concave washers on, and then put the brake pad on, and that's looking pretty good. This side, sometimes that plastic bit might come loose, so you want to align it with the hole. Make sure there's a hole there that you can poke through, and then you can go ahead and put in the gold spring, and that should just fit in there. If it doesn't fit, try to push down a little bit harder till it does. Try not to break anything, of course, and then yeah, put this cover on. And then same thing with the brake here, use those washers, same idea, and then the left brake arm is done. And then yeah, just repeat the process, and there you go. That's basically it. You have 4 more bolts, which is going to help you attach it to the bike itself. And then these hangers go on top. And yeah, that's looking good. Looking pretty shiny, everything looks good, ready to go on. And then here's all the holes for the brake. So usually I use the middle one, but you can adjust it accordingly depending on how much spring pressure you need. The bottom hole is going to give you more pressure, the top hole is going to give you less pressure. You can see how it goes in here. You can see I'm sliding into the middle one. That's always a good starting off point depending on what you need. And then pretty straightforward here, just put a little bit of grease on and bolt it up. Grease goes on a pivot point, and then yeah, your brake should be able to spring back like that against the rim. And then the same thing on the front here. Yeah, not too much to it really. Make sure your arms spring back as well. Putting on this little hanger thing, I just put a little bit of grease where the bolt goes through, and then just putting this C-clip on, kind of just clips down. I just use a plastic lever to push it in. But yeah, that's basically it. Looking good. It'd be cool if that thing was silver, but yeah, what can you do? Alright, dropping these quick release skewers in the Evaporust. Yeah, I always forget something. Ideally you would take apart everything and drop them all in, but yeah, I don't know, I always forget. And here's the next day. I'm just taking these skewers out. You can see they look pretty darn good, I think. Yeah, kind of all the rust came off them, even off this little bolt thing. And then yeah, just same process again. Just give them a nice wipe down to wipe all the black gunk off, and then give them a spray with WD-40. Here, just putting on the quick release skewers. I usually like the arms facing up. I don't know if that's a thing or not. Alright, so I got this little hanger that I have off like another bike, one of the many bikes that I picked up. But you can see it has a little bit that goes into here, slots into here, and then it allows you to run a derailleur. So I got to undo this and then slot this in and then put it back on. So yeah, just loosen your wheel a little bit so you have room, and then this little thing goes onto the back, and you can kind of has a little groove in there, and then this goes on the front. You just gotta push it all the way in, and then you can put a little bolt here. Yeah, I wasn't sure what was happening before. It was just a little bit weird, but this is how you put on this thing. So yeah, that's basically it. You just gotta make sure your wheel is aligned into center here, so it sits on this dropout a little bit. But yeah, there you go. Alright, cleaned the cassette. So yeah, the cassette was pretty gunked up, so I ended up using WD-40 to clean it, just to help break down the grease. I also used this little seal pick tool from Big Bike to kind of pick off all the grease as well. But yeah, basically this is just putting in the grunt work to get it cleaned up using detergent, WD-40, and yeah, just paper towels to kind of clean it up. But you can see it freshened up pretty good from how it was before. And then yeah, just slotting on the cassette here. Usually there's a wider gap, so that's how you know you can line it up. And then yeah, just screw it on by hand, make sure you don't cross thread it, and then tighten it up. And there we go, looking good on that. Here, putting on the back wheel, make sure your wheel is aligned again. Cassette's going good. And then here, got this Remac, X-Age Remac, actually off the previous build, I think. But I think it's going to work well for this build, just the silver and black. It's going to match it, and it's a pretty solid piece of kit as well. I end up putting this in the Evaporust as well, just to give it a little bit of a clean. And yeah, just didn't have to wait that long for this one. You can see, even just on the aluminum, cleaned it up a bit. And then yeah, here's the Remac. All the rust kind of came off, which I was pretty stoked about. So yeah, just got to give it a rinse. I rinsed it off camera and just give it a spray with WD-40. And you can see, yeah, it's looking pretty fresh. And then just yeah, installing that, screwing it on. Seems to be working pretty well. Alright, setting up the Remac, you just want the cog when you push it all the way to line up with the one closest to the wheel, and then when it's released, the one closest to your to the outside. So I'm going to just use the high limit screw here. You can see it's a little bit in. I'm going to unwind it so it lines up a little bit better, just like that. And you can see it's way better now. It's the same for the low gears. If it's gone too far in the low gears, just use the little L screw to adjust it. But yeah, that's basically it. Shouldn't be too hard. Alright, so I got these levers, which are often old build, but I think the all black looks pretty cool. So I'm just going to put these on. And then I got these black grips, black Amy cam grips, which I had saved. And then yeah, the lever, you saw that I cleaned. So I think that setup's going to be pretty cool. It'd be cool if this was black, but yeah, what can you do? So I'm going to chuck these on and see how they go. Alright, just yeah, putting everything on. So I noticed when I was putting on kind of these grips and then also this little shifter here, was that it didn't really have any protection. So I used a little bit of just rubber tubing that you can just trim off and turn it inside out, put it around your bar, and then put the clamp over it, and that saves your bar from getting too scratched up. And in putting the grips on, I just spray water in there. Yeah, these grips are actually really hard to put on, but if you want grips that are not going to slip, these are good for them. But yeah, just got to muscle them on. But yeah, this is how it's looking. I think it's looking pretty good. And then yeah, now just installing the cables. Yeah, when you install the cables, just make sure you turn your bars left and right. Make sure there's not it's not pulling too much on the housing there, and not rubbing too hard on your head tube. So yeah, that's basically what I usually do. Just make sure it has a nice kind of curve to it, and it's not going to put too much pressure on your cables on the inside. But yeah, measured all those, cut them out. Alright, you might notice after you cut your cables, it might be a little bit janky, like this one. And you just got to push a spoke through or use a tool to kind of just clear the housing. Sometimes, if it's really bad, you might need to give it a re-snip. But yeah, that's why you measure just a tiny bit longer, just in case you need to do that. Alright, all done. Sometimes you can give the ends a file if you want as well. So for the front brake, what I like to do is have the hanger just above the fork hole, in case you need to install a rack or fender or something, so it's not in the way. And then you're going to need another brake cable to kind of slide through that hanger and basically align your brake pads like this. You can also use the barrel adjuster on your brake lever to help with this. Unwind it out before you tighten your pads, and then wind it back in, and it should give you a little bit of room for your wheel to kind of clear. And I like to put my cable like this for a nice kind of clean look. But yeah, that's looking good. And then I just repeat the same process on the back. Alright, you can see the brakes are tilting that way. And basically what you do is you just screw this clockwise to put more pressure on the spring on the right hand side, and it should bring it back. Sometimes you need to give this a jiggle, otherwise it might not move. You can see it's a little too much now because I forgot to give this a shake. So I'm going to unwind it out, wind it out, back out, maybe a couple of turns, and give it a shake again. And that's pretty much perfect, I think. And then just line up the pads. Alright, almost forgot to put this on. This goes under the BB, just like that. With the rear gear cable, just make sure you bend it down so you get the correct length for it. And then yeah, give it a snap, and then I end up installing the gear cable here. Basically just pull it through and do it up tight. And then got the seat bolt pretty rusted. Gonna chuck this in Evaporust. I told you I always forget stuff. But yeah, a few hours later it's looking pretty decent. Not the rust didn't come all the way off, but after wash it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I decided that I was going to buff it up anyway on the drill press. I did give it a bit of a sand as well, but yeah, after buffing it up, it made it look pretty good. I think pretty decent. And then to do the bolt, you can just screw the bolt onto the bolt, screw the nut onto the bolt, and then yeah, do it like that. Here installing the seat bolt. It's looking good. And then yeah, cleaning up this the guts and the seat post. These old style guts, yeah, I don't know why they were invented. I guess it was just the easiest way at the time, but yeah, I think the new style makes way more sense. Here I had a little loose staple, and I ended up stapling it back on. You can see the other staple just kind of fell off. But yeah, I just cleaned the seat with detergent spray. It's in pretty good nick already, it wasn't too much to it. I ended up using a little bit of moisturizing cream on it as well, just to freshen it up. I don't think this faux leather kind of absorbs the moisturizer as well as real leather, but it works nonetheless. And then here, cleaning up this seat post. It was looking pretty rough, a lot of sand on it. It was also like really windy today, so I tried to cut down the noise, but yeah, I think the only thing I can do when this happens is just kind of like sand it down. So I end up putting it on the drill press for a little bit, and then using WD-40 and the sanding block which I had from the last build. And yeah, actually the paint came off really easy. I don't know what type of paint this was, but yeah, it was really easy to kind of come off. So I basically just gave it a nice quick sand, and yeah, all the rust kind of came off, which I was pretty happy about. And then I gave it a little bit more of a buff on the drill press for the harder areas, more WD-40, and yeah, it was looking good. I think I was pretty happy with this. There's still like a little bit of pitting in certain areas, but yeah, it's fine. Here, giving these guts a rinse. There was no rust on this, so just washed them, and then yeah, putting it back onto the saddle, which is always a mission with these guts, but I got there at the end. And then yeah, installing the seat post, putting some grease on there. Make sure you grease it up. We don't want no seat posts anywhere. And then yeah, just tying it on. But yeah, that's the seat done, looking good. And installing the chain here using the same SRAM chain. And then, yeah, it was out of the pack. It's like really sticky, so you got to clean it. I clean it using the Smooth Lube cream cleaner, and then you just give it a wash. Cleans it real quick, like 10 seconds, and it's not sticky anymore. And then yeah, just put the chain on. Make sure you size it for a single 1-by. You want to add 4 links. Make sure you count for the quick link as well, and that should give you a pretty good starting point. And then just undo it, wrap it around. Make sure you wrap it all the way around the derailleur now. Make sure it feeds in properly, and then you just pull it in tight, snap it on, and yeah, that's good to go. You can see I also put the chain on the inside of the BB to give it a little bit more slack when I'm installing, and that's a good little tip. Yeah, you can see it's running pretty well, but it's grinding on the chain ring, on the unit chain ring, so I gotta fix that. Okay, so on the lowest gear, it kind of scrapes on this because my chain line is a little bit off. So my options is either to get a shorter BB or take the unit ring off. I'm just going to take the unit ring off for now until I get a shorter BB. But yeah, it should be all right. So just take off the chain guard like this. All right, there we go. So I ended up moving everything in. You can see here the chain ring is a bit more over now, so the chain line is straighter. So yeah, pretty good. All right, so just chucked on the stand. So when I set up the brakes, it's kind of scraping on both sides. So when that happens, you kind of have to, you got to true the wheel. So yeah, basically if you need to go on this side, the left side, you just squeeze it and it'll move to the left. And then you tighten the spokes on this side for it to turn to the right. Alright, and basically I just tightened the spokes. I did about 6 at a time, and I did about a quarter turn. It wasn't too far off at all, so it wasn't too difficult. And yeah, basically you just want to keep doing it until you don't hear any scrapes anymore. Here, just lubing up the chain using this smooth lube cream. Works pretty well. I think it's wax based, so it lasts for a while. And yeah, you just put it on the inside of the rollers, leave it for 24 hours to soak in, and then it works pretty well. And then what I like to do is just cycle through all the gears to make sure it's running nice. Alright, just putting the cable ends on. These are gear cable ends. What I found out is the gear cable ends also fit on the brake cables. So yeah, it saves you from buying like 2 different kinds. I wish I knew this earlier before I actually bought them, but yeah, it doesn't matter. I like the smaller ones as well, they look a little bit cleaner. But yeah, just clamp them on, make sure they're nice and tight. And then here, putting on these pedals, these are just mission pedals, just kind of BMX style. And then don't forget to grease up your threads on them. And just chuck them on, make sure you turn them the right way. Usually I just hand thread them on first and then, yeah, use a wrench to tighten them. And that's working pretty well. And then same thing with the other side. And yeah, that's basically it. That was the last thing. And here's the final bike. Alright, super stoked on this bike. I think it turned out pretty sick. It's a pretty fun ride to rip around on. Actually, you can do little jumps and stuff with it as well. And the one by makes it pretty simple. And the chain ring, you don't get your pants caught in it. The 1.9 tires actually ran pretty well. I thought I'd want something a bit fatter, but they're actually pretty quick, so pretty fun on those. And then, of course, love the bar setup. Big shout out to Sarah Briggs, Andy Peacock, and @BeatTony for donating to this build. Appreciate it. Shout out to people who bought shirts and stickers. They're available in my store. Reprinting some of the Gary Shock stickers as well, so they should be in the store by the time you watch this video. Last but not least, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully you liked the video. Let me know what you guys think of the bike, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.